The question that we need to answer reads as follows. They're telling us that we have a table indicating the IQ and test marks out of 50 for a mother tongue test for 10 learners. In other words, the first learner has an IQ of 110 and got 26 out of 50 for the mother tongue test. The next learner has an IQ of 107 and got 31 out of 50. Then 127 for the IQ, that learner got 37 out of 50 for the test, and so forth, for all 10 learners. We need to find the correlation coefficient for the set of data. Now the ideal would be that you do this on your statistical calculator, because in tests and exams you probably would not be able to use a computer such as Microsoft Excel to do the calculations for you. So it is advisable that you still try and do it on your calculator and check your answers with this video, the answers that we get in this video. The reason why we are not doing it on a calculator but on Microsoft Excel would be twofold. Number one, to try and cater for every possible calculator out there and the way in which those calculators feed in and feed out the various values would be almost impossible. There are just too many different types of calculators available, and each one is unique in the way it operates the keys on the calculator keypad itself. So we would advise you to study your calculator manual, learn how to do this on your calculator. It is important that you learn how to do it so that you can use a calculator for all of this. But the second reason also then would be that we would like to show you how easy and convenient Microsoft Excel actually is in doing this. So whenever you get a question, you can do it with your calculator and do it on the computer using Excel, and just double check that you are quite correct using the calculator. But don't neglect your calculator skills. It's very important. Now on Excel we've got the tables, the values as they've given to us, so we would select it, go to the chart wizard, click on the scatter plot, fit a linear regression line to it, and once we're done we would then have a graph such as that. Now we have shown you before, there was a separate video on how you can actually create the graphs. If you're not quite sure, just go back to the previous videos and see exactly how you are supposed to create these various graphs for creating the regression line or the fit line. It's actually called the fit line because what that line does, that you can see there, that line is the best fit to the data that we have. You can see all the various plots that we have indicating the various IQ values and test scores for the various students, and then we have that line fitting the best fit for that data. That line has an equation. Y is equal to 0.3727x minus 11.796. And then the computer also gives us the R squared value, which is the coefficient of determination. That would give us 0.5553. If you multiply that by 100, you'll get 55.53%, which basically tells us that 55.53% of our data can be fitted to that line that we have there, which is not bad. It's not excellent, but it's not bad. We can actually have 55% of the data fit on that line, or described by that line if you want to rather refer to it as that. And then to find the correlation coefficient, you take the R squared value that we've got, 0.5553, and you take the square root of that value, and that will then give you 0.745, which is also not excellent, but it's not bad at all, because the question that we then need to answer about that is, what do these values indicate? What can we read from 0.745 as the correlation coefficient? Now, since that is almost 1, it's very close to 1, we can say that there is a relatively good correlation between IQ values and test scores. And what this basically means is that you could ideally, for this question only, remember this is not a real life situation, for this question only, you could, if you have the IQ of a specific learner, you could dictate or predict what the average test score of such a student would be, and vice versa. If you know how much a specific student got for a test or for the term mark, you could use it by going across and then coming down again. You could predict what the IQ of such a student would be. Now obviously this is not in real life, this is just for this example, so don't do it with your mates and their test scores. You probably will not be accurate, but for this specific question, there is a relatively, the answer to the question then, there is a relatively good correlation between IQ values